good welcome to Priyanka Chopra.
Lovely to meet you. Our side of the world, we do it twice. Great, thank you. Okay, so a few decisions that we need to take first. Are we going to be an interesting audience, or are we going to be a serious audience? Because then I'll tweak my speech accordingly. Great, so we laugh. That should be fun. All right, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For me, because I just landed from India last night, it's kind of late at night, so I'm going to try and keep this really snazzy and snappy. So here we go. Theresa May, many of you may know her, a British conservative politician who's also the current Home Secretary, and I would like to quote her. It is quite widely known that I like shoes. This is not something that defines me as a woman or as a politician, but it has come to define me in the eyes of the newspapers. I wore a pair of leopard print kitten heels to a Conservative Party conference a few years ago, and the papers have continued to focus on my feet ever since. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have come prepared with a pair of shoes worth talking about. On my feet and a speech in my hands, I leave it up to you to decide what you want to focus on. As an entertainer with many varied interests and pursuits, I've been labeled many things. An actor, a singer, an author, Miss World, and that is like inheriting a completely new personality, by the way, amongst other things. But the one thing that I think is most relevant in our discussions today is the one word that was given to me, or one title that was given to me when I was in high school. FOB, or fresh off the boat. A middle-class girl from a small town of India was suddenly transported into an American high school culture in the heart of Queens, New York. High school, in itself, as all of you know, can be the world's biggest culture shock. And for me, it was multiplied like a billion times. I felt like I was the captain of the Starship Enterprise, and Scotty had beamed me up to a galaxy super far away. It was also completely new and far removed from my life as I had known it. As with every teenager, high school has its ups and downs. I came to America as Priyanka Chopra, and I left as Mrs. Tupac Shakur. It kind of encapsulates my growth as an individual, much of which happened naturally and subconsciously. In the beginning, I was a little disconcerted because suddenly I was a lot more aware of my ethnicity. And by this, I don't mean that I was facing any sort of racism, but more that I was understanding that I was from a different world, a different culture, yet somehow that I could find a comfortable place for myself in a melting pot of such different individuals. I was no longer many of the same people. I was somehow interestingly different, but yet learning and blending into a new culture. By the way, at this point, if any of this gets a little confusing, you can just focus on the shoes. Over the course of time, those experiences gave me an amazing understanding of what my culture is. Also, and somewhat drove me to imbibe and appreciate what was going on around me. A large part of that journey was fueled by music, hip-hop, R&B, rap. I was hooked, and that period still influences me in the music I'm trying to make today. I have to admit, it's not as intelligent and strategic as I'm trying to make it sound. I was a teenager, it was the 90s, you can imagine what that was like. I was making mixtapes from the radio and crying over my crushes, and that's how the 90s were. I broke some scholastic records, of course. I was an honor student, but at the same time, I broke someone's nose, too. Got suspended from school for 3 days, a proud moment in my life. I always did my chores. I spent all of my pocket money on clothes. I was a good girl, but I still managed to give my family a few sleepless nights. I went from being this good Indian girl from a small town in India to a soul sister in my head, complete with the braids, the puffy jackets, the gold hoops. For real, yo. Okay, so Left Eye from TLC was my idol. That should sort of hint at what I was like in high school, okay? But generally, it was a fun ride around planet puberty. And then, just as suddenly as I had arrived, I had to leave, go back to India, to my parents, my brother, my family, my future. And like they say in Hindi movies, you know, puri kainat, I'll say it in English, the whole universe was conspiring for my destiny to be what it is today. And as dramatic as that sounds, my journey from that exact moment was a little bit like a fairy tale. Within 6 months that I went back home, I was 17 and suddenly I was Miss World. Boom, life was just never the same. I fast forward some years later, and I'm right here, pretty much in the same place, fresh off the boat, all over again, presenting another side of me, from a gawky teenager to a debutante recording artist. Things are different now, but the feeling is, it's very similar. It all feels completely new, very different from what I know, very, very scary. It germinated as an idea from Anjula Acharya Bath, who is a SAMMA trailblazer tonight. And she wanted the world to experience what we have to offer as a culture. And music being the great binder and equalizer, so here we are today with one song on the US charts and the second one headlining the Thursday night football game at NFL. But this time around, however, I quite deliberately brought my culture and background with me and infused it into my music, whether it was a melody, a tune, dance moves, lyrics. It was something that was very important to me. I've had some amazing, really driven and talented people on my side of the corner, whether it's Jimmy Iovine, Red One, Anjula, Troy, Carter, Tracy, and David. David, are you here somewhere? Somewhere? Hey, you. And the team at CAA, Dana, Sujit, Pitbull, will.i.am, and amazing artists that I've had the fortune to collaborate with. Some I can talk about, some I can't. I'm a middle-class girl from a small town in India, and today I'm living the dream. It's almost unbelievable for me, and I guess that proves that everyone has a chance. If I can, and I stand here in front of you, then anybody can. It's been an amazing ride to this point, and I hope that it continues in the same vein, and especially because I have my management in this room, I would like to say, just as Russell Peters said, if it doesn't, somebody gonna get hurt tonight. So as I stand here today, I'm an amalgamation of both cultures in some way. My go-to soul food is dal chawal, which is lentils and rice, or a double bacon cheeseburger, depending on what issue I have to deal with. I walk the red carpet in the latest couture and also in exquisite saris. My music box will pump out Rihanna, Robin Thicke, but at the same time, the latest Bollywood blockbuster. So there's no switch that I need to keep flipping, These are all part of me, an inherent part of me. And when I look around this room today, there are some familiar faces and many incredible stories of success. And in some way, we are all connected with this duality of what we have experienced and how we all strive to be a global citizen in our chosen fields, yet trying to find a way to hold on to our roots. There's no formula, there's no perfect mix of it's just what we make of it. This room has a huge collection of talented, driven, successful, and creative people. Our individual ethnicity is intrinsic to who we are, but it is what we do that defines us. That's why, the word crossover affects me so much. I get asked that a lot back home, and here, actually, these days, and in the rest of the world. It makes me want to inflict some very serious bodily harm to the person who asks me. And just a little something that you should keep in mind is when we have our one-on-one conversations today, I'm training for this movie where I play a champion boxer, and I'm just putting it out there that I'm pretty tough at the moment, so ask me about the crossover and I will cross over to the dark side. So for me, what I'm doing is not really a crossover. I find that term limiting, sort of confined to a box. What I'm doing is kind of the opposite. I'm test tubing. I'm throwing things into the mix for a global audience. You can treat it like a science experiment and worry that it's going to explode in your face, or you can treat it like an exotic cocktail shot. Knock it back and just let go. I'm taking everything that defines me and sharing it to a new audience, and in turn, I'm absorbing everything that they have to share with me. So rather than limit me, it expands my boundaries of thought, creativity, and ability. I prefer to take a shot any day, by the way. So after saying everything that I have, I just want to tell you you've been an amazing audience, and I want to thank you. And I hope that I have another opportunity to be able to interact with you as much as I can, preferably at a more humane hour and when I'm not completely jet-lagged after landing last night. And also a little less serious of setup might help. Maybe we should just drop by at the after party, right? Do we have an after party? We do, yay! So that's when we shall interact. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, you were amazing.